Okay, I'm John Skinner, and I'll be demonstrating three-way rig bucktailing for striped bass. And I'm really excited about this because I have some excellent footage from on the water. And even though this is a boat technique, what I've learned doing this kind of fishing has helped me a lot in surf fishing, especially when fishing inlets with deep and fast-moving water. All right, the rig's pretty simple. I've got a sturdy three-way swivel, about 5 feet of 80-pound test monofilament terminating on a bucktail. And this happens to be an 1.25 ounce Andrus rip splitter bucktail. Any commercial off-the-shelf bucktail that's well tied and has a sturdy hook will do. I tend to use bucktails in the 1 to 1.5 ounce range for this. This is tipped with a strip of number 70 Uncle Josh pork rind, yellow in this case. White and red are also fine colors. To the other loop of the three-way, I have a 1-foot leader of 50-pound test monofilament with a 10-ounce cannonball sinker. Of course, the weight of the sinker depends on the current. I prefer cannonballs because you can use a little bit less lead with the round shape, and they tend to hang less in the structure. There's an overhand knot in this dropper because this is 50-pound test monofilament. I use 50-pound test braid for the main line, and by putting this overhand knot, it introduces a weak spot so that if I snag the sinker, it might be the only thing I break off if I'm really hung on the bottom. Okay, before we hit the water, I want to mention that what I'll be demonstrating is described in my book, Fishing the Bucktail, and this book describes both surf fishing and boat fishing, a variety of techniques including fluke, striped bass, bluefish, and so forth. Okay, and you can find this on Amazon.com and plenty of tackle shops in the Northeast and other sources. All right, let's hit the water.
Okay, I'm just trying to follow a bottom contour here. I'm going to stay quiet and I'll narrate in more detail in a minute.
Must be around here. Right where it was supposed to be. Good one. Surprised you didn't hook up. This one doesn't want to budge. Very nice. Yeah, this one.
Okay, let's take a look at that hookup in more detail. If you watch my hands, you'll notice that I'm flipping the clutch, dropping to the bottom, picking up a couple of cranks. All I'm trying to do is follow the bottom contour. If you're able to hear the audio on that, you'll notice at one point I said they should be right about here, and I set the hook. That's exactly where the fish were. And I knew that because when I dropped down, I only dropped down a little bit, and I realized I was right on the top of the hump where the fish were at this particular time. Okay, so let's go move on to another hookup that's a little bit different, and then we'll narrate that one after the fish is landed.
Okay, we don't get any on this drift. You know what we're going to do? We'll go back to the other spot and take a drift and just... Never mind. Let's say give this a rest. Angle up a little bit. Nice bass.
Okay, this time you'll notice instead of dropping down, I'm actually taking a couple of quick cranks, and that's because I'm rising up the slope a little bit. I feel bottom taps on the tip of my rod, so as soon as I feel that, I take a couple of cranks, and the whole attempt is just to stay a little bit off the bottom. Okay, now I've basically passed the hump. I'm going into deeper water, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the clutch, drop back to the bottom, pick up a couple of cranks, and just hold it. Okay, a fish hit feels like a very sharp tap, and if you watch the tip carefully, you might see it just before I set the hook. Pretty much I'm always in a ready to strike position, and one of the challenges of this kind of fishing is to know the difference between a fish hit and a bottom hit. Alright, we'll look at one more hookup. We're fishing eastern Long Island Sound in 40 to 50 feet of water, a fair amount of current. We're pretty much in a no-name spot out in the middle of nowhere. Alright, so you'll notice that I'm not putting any action on the bucktailing. When I give talks or write articles about bucktailing, I often say for surfcasters that if you can just glide your bucktail near the bottom on a slow to moderate retrieve, you're going to catch fish. And that's all this technique is showing, is gliding the bucktail near the bottom. You know, that's not to say that when you're surf casting a twitch or a lift of the bucktail isn't something good to do once in a while. It is, but the point is, this is a pin hooking technique, a technique that commercial fishermen have used for decades to load their boat with bass. It's extremely effective, and all we're doing is just gliding that bucktail near the bottom, and it's just an extremely effective way to catch fish. There we go. Okay, this is all drift fishing. We're drifting at about 1.5 to 2 knots on this trip, and pretty much drifting over different pieces of structure, humps, and drop-offs and so forth. Okay, I leave you with the other guy in the boat, my 86-year-old father, who couldn't wait for me to get the camera out or get my line in the water before he hooked up with this nice bass, and I just thought it would be a good way to end the video. He's got a nice fish here.